Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all very much for coming. It's my pleasure as director of the centre to welcome you all and to thank some people who've come actually a very long way. So we must have a very dynamic and productive day to make sure that everyone leaves feeling that they have been inspired, challenged, learnt new things, and have discovered the one road in Singapore where no one seems ever to exist. The background to today's meeting is, well, actually, as my colleague and esteemed board member of our board, Chun Hong, will remember, was a discussion at our annual board meeting between two Assistant Secretary Generals of the UNDP who sit on the board, who said this year's Human Development Report, which is UNDP's major flagship, is on the future of work, and the centre should look at what the implications of that idea in the public sector might be. So we are responding to that, and we are delighted to have Eva from the Human Development Report team with us today to think that through. The other important aspect of today's discussion from the centres and from my selfish point of view is that the first phase of the centre comes to an end in a couple of months' time, and we hope that the centre will continue after that, dependent on, because we are co-funded by the government of Singapore, dependent on the views of the government of our proposal for phase 2. So I ask everyone to smile at Chun Hong and wave at him if you see him looking at you. But I hope that we will continue, and in the process of doing that, we have put forward various ideas for strengthening our work, but obviously the future of the public service is a critical aspect of whatever we do, and considerations around the application of foresight ideas is particularly critical as well. So I'm also delighted that Ravi from Pemandu in just up the road in Malaysia has also joined us, bringing the expertise of one of the most successful and dynamic of the sort of thinking institutions looking at the future of public service anywhere. I'd also like to welcome everyone else working in this field. And we might quickly go round the room to make sure that everyone is aware of the wealth of expertise we have here. There are a few questions, though, that I would very quickly like to raise before we get on to the substance. The first is, are we moving to a new phase? Thinking about the last couple of decades of what we might agree has been the decline in the standing and influence of public service almost globally, but Singapore being a rare exception. Are we seeing a significant change and getting out of that rather weird paradox and conundrum that if you listen to public choice theory, public officials are all actively conspiring to exploit their positions for their own personal interests. But if you look at the underlying principles behind new public management, the idea is that public officials are all so indolent and unable to do anything on their own that they need to be strongly incentivized to undertake any activity at all. So that conundrum is one that clearly requires a new thinking, a new approach, and frankly a much fairer and much more constructive view of the nature of public service. And this leads me to think about what is the nature of the state. And I'm delighted that Bernard is here from France, because there is a danger of the discussions we have that we tend to look at the English-speaking world and be driven by the extremely interesting influences of New Zealand and Canada and the UK. But a book that has just been produced by Professor Christopher Hood from Oxford University points out that basically 30 years of reform in the UK have achieved apparently almost nothing. So we have to be skeptical sometimes about the evidence that comes purely from the English-speaking world and look at the much broader range of reforms going on in different societies with different concepts of the nature of the state, citizenship, and bureaucracy. So thinking through how that is changing and the responsiveness of the state, and how what we are discussing today influences and is influenced by concepts that we tend often to, I think, underestimate: the nature of the legitimacy of the state, nationalism, ideology, equity and equality, and concepts of identity. So how is the state changing, and how does today's discussion affect that? And the third is this concern that I've already alluded to, that a lot of public service reform has ended in various degrees of failure. This was the subject of a workshop that we held at the end of last year with Nick Manning, the former head of governance at the World Bank, who gave a very startling set of evidence and data on why and how so much reform has failed to make us any significant impact in many developing countries. So today we need to consider what type of social change, technological change is affecting public service, how we can reinvigorate public service ethos, values, and what type of public service we are likely to see in the next 10 or 20 years, thinking and relating this particularly to the Sustainable Development Goals, which will almost certainly be approved at the United Nations General Assembly in September.